We're getting close to the NBA playoffs, and I want to go over a few playoff teams that may have the opportunity to be contenders for a championship. I will be including teams that have a contending roster depending on how their season went, while other teams may not have a chance to the finals because of injuries, or they may have a young roster. But we all know what those teams are capable of. For example, if we look at the Western Conference, the Lakers and the Warriors, they're both sitting at the 9th and 10th spot right now. But we know that both teams are still competing for a finals, with LeBron and Curry still active, so we know we can't count them out. But before we get started, this is my own personal opinion about these teams, whether you would disagree or agree. But I would still love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on this upcoming playoffs. Other than that, let's get into it. Starting off this video, I'll be doing the Western Conference first. Now I know almost every team has a record that's very close with each other, with a game or two or even a few back, just depends. But not every team could be a contender, in my opinion at least. I wanted to bring up the Lakers again because in my eyes, they're still contenders. Yes, they've had a struggling season. Yeah, they've had a slow pace. But if you look at their team stats, they've been a very mid team. Right now, they're 17th in offensive rating at 114.7, with a defensive rating at 115.3, ranking them at 18th. Currently, as of right now, they're sitting at the 9th spot, just dropped down to the 10th spot. I do think it's foolish for anyone to count out LeBron because throughout his career, he's always been competing for a championship, and it doesn't matter what team he's been on. But right now, they're sitting in the playing spot, which isn't the best spot. But they're fighting for their life right now, trying to stay alive, trying to get back in the playoffs, which will make it more difficult, depends who they play. But I do see them as a contender if they find their way to a playoff spot. Same with the Warriors. I don't even think we can count on Curry or even the whole Warriors team because Steve Kerr knows how to turn this team around when they need it most. If not even that, Curry would just carry them on his shoulders until the whole team follows. But I still see them as contenders if they make it past the play-in tournament, but that only depends who they play against in the playoffs. The Timberwolves have had a great season so far. At the time I was making this video, sitting at the first seed, topping the rankings in offensive and defensive rating throughout the year. The Wolves had it all figured out, running the two big man lineup, which had Cat sitting around the three-point line, while Gobert stays around the paint. Anthony Edwards running the show with the exceptional role players, it all worked out until I feel like some teams figured them out throughout halfway in the season. What I mean by that is after All-Star break, their offensive rating went from 2nd to 23rd now. They've had some bad injuries, especially to some key players. For example, Karl Anthony Towns just got a serious injury. Who knows when he'll be back? And also the inconsistency throughout the team. But from watching them play, I'm not convinced that they can be a team that can make it to the finals or even the Western Conference Finals, depends on who they match up with, or if they even drop down in the seeding. They're only about 4 games ahead of Clippers, Nuggets, and OKC. Speaking of OKC is a team I look at as a great young team that had their Cinderella regular season run. Like the 2017-2018 Houston Rockets with James Harden and Chris Paul, or like the 2020-2021 Utah Jazz with Donovan Mitchell. Those teams had an amazing run, but it didn't end well when they got to the playoffs. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from this young OKC team, but they have came a long way from being this good. And yes, they have dogs on this team, and Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, taking down teams like the defending champs Nuggets, the overpowered Celtics, Clippers, and even the Warriors. My point is, we've seen this happen before, and I wouldn't be surprised if their experience came into a factor. But hey, I could be wrong, and they could make some upsets in the playoffs. Who knows? Going through this conference would take more time, especially since 1 through 4 could change, so home court advantage would be different. 5 through 10 is already close. Lakers might not be in the play-in by the time playoffs start, but anything can happen between now to April. I will be making another video for the Eastern Conference. I just wanted to break this up into parts, but follow my basketball page for more content and to keep you updated.